The most widespread in Ukraine are gasoline versions of Galant. When choosing the mechanics, it is advised to refrain from buying units with GDI direct fuel injection. In our operating conditions, they do not take root for everyone. The fact is that these engines are very demanding on the purity of the fuel. Mechanical inclusions disable the high-pressure fuel pump, which develops up to 50 atm, new, about 6,500 UAH. Often the electronic throttle valve creates a problem, which is manifested by unstable engine operation. GDI also required the use of high-quality oil and its timely replacement, otherwise, the hydraulic valve clearance compensators will fail. However, the latter feature is also characteristic of all other Galant engines. Failures in the operation of conventional four-cylinder engines can be caused by a breakdown of the rubber caps of the ignition coils, one for 2 cylinders. If the V6 is not running smoothly at idle, the throttle stepper motor may be to blame. It will need to be adjusted over time. Otherwise, with proper operation, you will only have to spend money on servicing engines. Scheduled replacement of spark plugs is more expensive for V6. It is necessary to remove the intake manifold, only work 500 UAH. Moreover, these motors use expensive 200 UAH per one piece candles with platinum electrode tips. But timing maintenance on a V6 is cheaper. In addition to the belt, you need to change 2 rollers and a hydraulic tensioner. In total, non-original spare parts are about 1400 UAH. In 4-cylinder engines, there are 3 rollers. The hydraulic tensioner is more expensive and, in addition, balancer shafts are used, the drive of which also needs to be changed along with the timing belt. Spare parts, about 1800 UAH. With every second replacement, after 180,000 kilometers, Minders advise installing new front shaft seals, camshaft, crankshaft, and balancer, and on the V6 also a pump, driven by a timing belt. The vast majority of Galant have front axle drive. Versions with all-wheel drive, right-hand drive VR4 and Legnum station wagons are extremely rare in our country, and we could not tell us about any features of their operation. The cars were equipped with 5-speed manual gearboxes, as well as 4-speed automatic transmissions, before restyling, and 5-speed Tiptronic in VEX2, after 2000. Versions with mechanics and automatic in Ukraine are almost equal in number. A more modern automatic transmission was equipped with a smart control program that adjusted to the driver's driving style and, depending on this, changed the switching moment. In general, during normal operation and timely, every 60,000 kilometers, oil change, automatic machines serve without problems. But there are comments on the manual gearbox, where the first gear synchronizer is noted. It manifests itself in its difficult inclusion, and with high mileage, 200,000 kilometers, the input shaft bearings fail, spare part, 300 UAH, work, 1800 UAH. The oil change in the manual gearbox should be carried out more often, every 40,000 kilometers. The hydraulic clutch usually does not create problems. Correct running moderately hard. This setup, together with the multi-link design of both suspensions, provides the car with excellent stability. Contributes to driving pleasure and informative steering. In general, many details of multi-links served for a long time, although there are still weak points, see photo. For the rest of the consumables, there are no complaints. So, the upper arms of the front suspension can last about 250,000 kilometers, the silent blocks of the lower arms, 150,000 kilometers, the gum of the front and rear stabilizers are almost eternal. In the rear suspension, eccentric bolts of silent blocks of transverse levers stick to 100,000 kilometers, which regulate the camber. The rubber bands themselves are usually still in good condition, but they have to be dismantled due to the impossibility of unscrewing the bolts. To avoid trouble, it is recommended to regularly service these nodes. The elastic bands of the remaining levers go for a very long time. Many branded consumables are offered as a set, although in the non-original silent blocks of the front and rear levers, as well as wheel bearings, can be purchased separately. But to the steering there are comments. By a run of 100 to 150,000 kilometers, the hydraulic booster pump starts to work noisily. In some cases, changing the working fluid along with the addition of an anti-wear additive helps solve the problem. In addition, the gear rack pair becomes unusable, which is manifested by a knock when driving through bumps. But the consumables of the helmsman last a long time. Thrust is 100 to 150,000 kilometers, and tips are even more. In the brake system, The knock of the pads was noted, the fixing springs overheat and lose their properties, and wedging of the guide calipers, especially the rear ones. To avoid problems, the guides must be lubricated each time the pads are replaced. Despite the excellent driving performance, Galant did not become very popular among domestic fans of active driving, which, in turn, had a positive effect on the health of used cars. Instances torn by excessively hot drivers come across infrequently. Like any technique, Galant has its drawbacks. However, they are not very serious. If this model is of interest to you, we advise you to avoid only its problematic versions.